Top 10 most badass female alternate versions of superheroes. Male superheroes have always dominated the game. Once in a while, a female superhero beats the villains with as much power, and sometimes more than any of her male counterparts. This is why it is always interesting to see an alternate female version of a traditionally male superhero. Some of the female alternate versions are badass enough to give the original versions justice, but at other times they are poorly written and seem lackluster and pale in comparison to their original counterparts, leading to the question of why an alternative version was even created in the first place. But in either case, these superheroines are extremely fun to watch and learn about, as they usually have interesting and intricate backstories, as all heroes do, and manage to defeat the evil bad guy in the very end. Female superheroes were far more powerful in many respects than their male equivalents. Ironically, they could manage their emotions and egos, possessed transformational powers that defined them, or simply outperformed them. Let's take a look at some of the estrogen injections that gave female superheroes superpowers.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
Supergirl. Despite being overshadowed by her family's heritage, Supergirl is enjoying her own moment these days, owing to her massively successful television series. Kara Zor-El has already had multiple incarnations since escaping Krypton before it was destroyed, along with her legendary cousin Superman. Some people assume she isn't as powerful as Superman since he keeps his full strength under wraps, although Supergirl metabolizes yellow beams of sunlight faster than he does. Kara, the daughter of Superman's uncle and aunt, was sent to Earth by her dad to save her from certain death. The Danvers adopted Supergirl and she became the guardian of National City. Kara Danvers, a regular high schooler, is her hidden identity. Supergirl is among the most formidable heroes in the universe, with immense superpowers thanks to her Kryptonian physiology. She also has been a part of the Justice League as well as the Red Lantern Corps. Kara has the same inherent powers as a normal Kryptonian, well exposed to a yellow sun. The absorption of solar energy is the primary source of Kara's superpowers in ideal conditions, as they are dependent on exposure to solar light from a yellow sun solar system. Her biological makeup contains a variety of organs that have no human counterpart and who have functions that are unclear. It is thought that yellow solar energy is saved for later use between one or more of them and her biocellular matrix. This causes these powers to wane instead of failing immediately when yellow sun energy is not accessible. Kara can shoot strong heat beams at a target simply by gazing at it. She has the ability to adjust the heat and the region impacted. Kara's hearing is acute enough to detect any sound regardless of loudness or pitch. She can focus on a certain source or frequency by blocking out background noises with skill and concentration. Kara's eyesight processes the full electromagnetic spectrum while also giving her a great deal of control over selecting perception and concentration. Kara has excellent vision over the majority of the electromagnetic spectrum. She is capable of seeing and identifying radio and television signals and other broadcast or transmission frequencies. She can elude discovery by radar or surveillance system technologies by using her skill. This also enables her to perceive the aura of living things. Whether Kara dives all in to vanquish her adversaries and Superman needs to prevent slaughtering everybody around him, Kara can maintain her composure and focus. Though her narrative arc ended long before the Supergirl series debuted, it has been a huge hit because she was a member of the Rebirth series.
Alright. No. Move! Go!
X-23. X-23 isn't simply a female superhero. She is a true female replica of Wolverine. Because top secret programs don't know when and how to stop acting like God, they are always carrying out risky tests, even if they include brainwashing and abusing young children. She was bred in captivity to be the ultimate combat machine and was subjected to radiation poisoning in order to enhance the growth of her mutant gene. She was also forced to have her claws removed so that they might be plated with adamantium like Wolverine. X-23 was created when a top-secret operation was assigned the goal of replicating the initial Weapon X operation that resulted in the feral mutation of Wolverine. Dr. Martin Sutter enlisted the help of a famous mutant geneticist named Dr. Sarah Kinney in order to create a Wolverine clone. Kinney had been unable to save the Y chromosome since the lone genetic specimen of Weapon X was destroyed. Kinney proposed making a female clone, but her request was refused. Dr. Xander Rice, who Sutter raised after his father was murdered by the initial Weapon X, is critical of the proposal. After 22 unsuccessful cloning attempts using a duplicated X chromosome, finally, the 23rd sample produced a healthy embryo. Although Kinney was permitted to continue, Rice exacted revenge on her by forcing her to serve as the clone's surrogate mother. Kinney's every step was tracked for 9 months before she gave birth to X-23. X-23 has most of Wolverine's mutant abilities because he's a clone. However, because she is now in her teens, a few of her abilities aren't as evolved as Wolverine. X-23, like Wolverine, has a rapid healing factor that allows her to repair injured or destroyed tissues at a far faster and more efficient pace than a normal human. She is able to completely mend major tissue injury and blood loss injuries, such as numerous gunshot wounds, cut wounds, as well as puncture wounds, in a couple of minutes. Her healing factor has improved to the point that she can restore dismembered limbs, including a hand. It is unknown, however, if she is capable of regrowing amputated limbs or missing organs. She was the only one to take Wolverine's place in All New Wolverine after Marvel killed him off in the Death of Wolverine series. She subsequently had a silver screen debut in 2017's Logan, in which Logan protects her as a toddler after she escapes the experimental facility. As Logan's body began to decay, she demonstrated to be tougher and more powerful. Elektra, aka Daredevil Woman. Marvel's new Daredevil has received her own limited series, Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, titled after Frank Miller, as well as John Romita Jr.'s fan-favorite miniseries named Daredevil. The Man Without Fear, Elektra is known to be the world's most lethal assassin, and she's made a pact not to kill. If someone places themselves squarely in her path, the results will be fatal. After the first Daredevil, Matt Murdock, surrendered himself for killing a gangster, the reformed criminal agreed to guard Hell's Kitchen. After his departure, Elektra took on the name Daredevil. As a result, the heroine has faced up against numerous legendary Daredevil adversaries, including Bullseye in various incarnations, Typhoid Mary, as well as the Kingpin, the latter of whom is poised to make his Marvel Universe debut. Wilson Fisk then launched his campaign to eliminate all superheroes, including Elektra, in Devil's Reign. Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, follows Elektra's Daredevil as she adapts to the mayor of New York's attempted takeover.
I just
The 3-issue special series was written by Chip Zdarsky, who is the author behind the present Marvel Comics Daredevil series, and illustrated by Rafael de la Torre. Daredevil was afraid that if he went to jail, Hell's Kitchen would be subject to the fancies and influence of the corrupt and affluent Stormwinds, resulting in pandemonium throughout the borough. Despite his best efforts to prepare for the possibility of being found guilty and imprisoned, it appeared like the Stormwinds were planning on purchasing up all of the properties in an approaching property auction. That would almost certainly run the neighborhood into the ground as a kind of retaliation against Matt Murdock as well as the Kingpin. As a result, despite his high moral code compelling him to suffer for his misdeeds and accept responsibility, Daredevil felt compelled to struggle for his release. However, Daredevil's ex-lover Elektra appeared in court, claiming that she purchased Hell's Kitchen using the riches she took from the Stormwinds herself and promised Matt it would be protected while he was gone. With all of her acquired riches, she is effectively another Tony Stark, following the footsteps of Iron Man as a fellow wealthy superhero. Having such a vast quantity of money opens up new avenues for crime fighting that the previous Daredevil did not have. She-Hulk. She-Hulk, like one of her contemporaries, Supergirl, is part of a family of superheroes. Her true name is Jennifer Walters. Jennifer Walters is an accomplished lawyer and the Hulk's cousin. After being shot by a gangster and critically injured, she was saved by Bruce's blood transfusion and his gamma-irradiated lifeblood, and her rage turned Jennifer into a less powerful version of the Hulk, named She-Hulk. launching her adventurous career. But unlike the Hulk, Jennifer had much better emotional control. She was also able to switch powers and appearances with other human females. Jennifer Walters had been a shy and bookish individual who reveled in her She-Hulk form's confidence, aggressiveness, and strength. The avatar of the She-Hulk eventually became irreversible, which she adored. Her superhero history reveals that she has been a member of the Fantastic Four as well as the Avengers, and she has ripped Vision in two. Jen wasn't as powerful as her strong cousin, but she retained her intellect as She-Hulk, eventually learning to regulate her changes and even accepting her green form. Jen battled for justice in court as well as on the streets throughout the years, forming strong rivalries and friendships while emerging into a renowned leader. She also worked for the district attorney and was a part of many crime-fighting teams.
We got us an Emerald wild card, cause the She-Hulk is in the house.
During a fight with Thanos, She-Hulk was hit in the chest by a rocket and was seriously injured, necessitating quick medical attention. Her transformations were out of control once she recovered, and she was not herself for a spell. But she was able to get past these dark periods and re-emerge as the inspiring and ever-loving, spectacular She-Hulk. Jen Walters was instilled with the might of the one below all as a consequence of a blood donation from Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk. Jennifer Walters has the ability to transform into a female variant of the Hulk. Walters' hair and skin become green in her usual She-Hulk form as she grows multiple inches and develops a significant amount of physical bulk. In contrast to her cousin in specific forms of her incarnations, Jennifer retains her entire intelligence and character in her She-Hulk form. This is not applicable for all of her incarnations, including Savage Grey She-Hulk, Grey Hulk, as well as anytime her gamma ray concentrations were disrupted.
Batman doesn't. But I do.
Batwoman. To be fair, Batman does not really have any superpowers, but is extremely rich and intelligent. As a result, anybody with such advantages has the potential to become Batman. Enter Catherine King, the feminine Bruce Wayne, affluent, powerful, charming, and a lady who spends her evenings beating up evil dudes in Gotham. Catherine, just like Carrie Kelly, who is the only female Robin, was motivated by Batman to combat crime herself. She put her vast resources to excellent use, launching a war against crime with a cape and cowl reminiscent of the Dark Knights. Once the Infinite Crisis plot debuted in 2005, she stepped in for Batman while he was gone. Catherine is outspoken with a Jewish heritage and lesbian orientation, which sets her apart from Bruce since it implies that she has meaningful attachments to things. Her humanity and compassion makes her less callous and physiologically repressed than Bruce Wayne. Kate was mugged in an alley near Molly's bar after an evening of drinking her sorrows out. She had just finished fighting the man who attempted to mug her and was ready to inflict further pain on him when Batman emerged. Seeing him in person helped Kate understand that while she was battling crime, she felt alive, and that vigilantism may be her new calling in life. Kate worked as a vigilante for about a year, using stolen military weapons obtained on the underground market. Kate then spent 3 years putting herself through rigorous training regimens and being exposed to one of the worst the world could offer. The final test was to ensure that she would not murder in rage, and once that was completed, she was ready to become the Batwoman. Kate learned parkour as a component of her Batwoman preparation, and she would have to acquire comparable techniques as a cadet. Kate can fly a plane and wield a crossbow with exceptional precision. The incision on Kate's skull was sewed up using gold thread, granting her a limited ability to sense strong electromagnetic fields, which is akin to filings picking up radio signals. Kate is exceptionally bright, graduating at the top of her class in high school and scoring in the 95th to 99th percentile of her school while studying at West Point.
Holy shit! We're in her head now!
Lady Deadpool. Some fans seem to think that because Deadpool is already quite spectacular, how could a female counterpart be any better? Is putting long hair on Wade Wilson and renaming him Wanda enough to distinguish what equates to a feminine Deadpool replica? Absolutely yes! Lady Deadpool was established as part of Earth 3010, but she was just as inappropriate, crass, oversexualized, and martially proficient as the original Deadpool. She also had a ripped physique, which, if you're Deadpool, you'd use to confuse bad guys, or maybe just enjoy for yourself. Lady Deadpool assists Deadpool with his newly chopped head in taking on General America, as well as his sentinels in Deadpool, Merc with a Mouth #7. She eventually became a part of the Deadpool Corps, as well as gave many adversaries many cans of whoop butt. She joined a gang of rebels warring against loyalists inside the United States out of a desire to belong and be loved. As per Wanda, the war began when fascists in the government began to force their will on the public, resulting in a division in Congress, generals picking sides and states declaring independence, ultimately leading to the United States' current condition. We understand from seeing Wanda alone that she is a rather introverted person who does not like to go out in the sun till her cable goes out. Lady Deadpool was one of the few living equivalents of Wade Wilson alive when a villainous version of Deadpool Corps began hunting down the countless Deadpools of the infinite universe under the control of Deadpool, and she immediately notified the Deadpool of Earth 616 of this potential danger and welcomed him to join the revolution. Lady Deadpool has a remarkable healing factor obtained from the mutant Wolverine, allowing her to repair injured or destroyed body tissue at a far faster and more efficient pace than a normal human. Lady Deadpool's dexterity, balance, and physiological coordination are boosted to levels that exceeded even the best human athletes' inherent physical capabilities. Spider-Woman. Unlike Peter Parker, who became Spider-Man after being bitten by a venomous spider, Jessica Drew gained her powers after her father injected her with an experimental serum produced from arachnids, believing it would heal her of uranium exposure. He was subsequently murdered after he locked her in an immunization isolation room in stasis for years. She stayed a spider beauty in slumber for years, and her age halted until she finally woke up in a family residence with no remembrance of what had gone down. Jessica Drew's parents relocated from England to a little cottage on the borders of Mountain Wundagore in Transia when she was approximately a year old. Her father, Jonathan Drew, a geneticist and a scientific study partner to the person who would go on to become the High Evolutionary, discovered a large amount of uranium on their property, which provided them with the financial resources to continue working on their dubious studies of evolution, cell regeneration, and genetics. She possesses extraordinary speed, power, stamina, dexterity, and healing powers. Moreover, her body creates bioelectricity, which she can convert into venom blasts, according to Nick Fury. Her body also creates pheromones, which she may utilize to either frighten or entice someone. Spider-Woman possesses a number of superhuman talents inherited from the medical experiment that provided her spider-like abilities, and eventually from her role as a totemic avatar. The electrostatic attraction allows Spider-Woman's limbs to attach to surfaces. Spider-Woman can also hold and carry a significant amount of extra weight while adhering to walls without sliding off. It's reasonable to infer that the weight she can carry is several times her own, and the limitations of how long she can do this until tiredness is unknown. Spider-Woman's muscular density and power have been greatly improved, allowing her to lift around 7 tons. Spider-Woman can run and move at significantly faster rates than even the best human athlete. During physical exercise, Spider-Woman's musculature produces fewer tiredness toxins than an average human's muscle. She can push herself at maximum capacity for numerous hours before exhaustion sets in. Spider-Woman's physique is somewhat harder and more immune to harm than a normal human's, but she is far from invincible.
Whoever is worthy will possess the power of Thor!
Jane Foster, aka Thor Girl. Even the great Thor was once thought to be unworthy to use Mjolnir, and while he wandered around on the earth, he was superseded by a strange lady who embraced his heroic responsibilities. She wasn't the same as Thor Girl who appeared in Thor, Tears of the Gods, Volume 2, number 22. About just a woman who became an Asgardian goddess and dedicated herself to being Thor's devoted friend. The identity of the new Thor was revealed to be none other than Thor's long-lost love, Jane Foster, who, while battling cancer, took up Mjolnir and was bestowed with all of Thor's powers. Thor granted her his approval since she showed to be as powerful on the outer as she was on the inside. Jane was discovered to have breast cancer when Thor was battling Gorr, the God Butcher. She eventually accepted Thor's offer to represent Midgard, and sometimes also known as Earth, in Asgard's Congress of Worlds, while undergoing therapy, but she denied magical remedies. Thor lost his power to wield his weapon Mjolnir during a battle with Nick Fury.
You were before Loki, but so am I!
The hammer stayed abandoned on the moon, where it sought Jane out telepathically. Jane ultimately succumbed to the hammer's appeal and asked Heimdall to transport her to Mjolnir's position. Jane managed to pick up Mjolnir and gained Thor's abilities, and this also helped her in changing and boosting her physique. Jane gradually learns how to handle Mjolnir by example after watching Thor use his hammer. Brunhilde's spirit converted Jane into Valkyrie, endowing her with all of the different superhuman characteristics typical among Asgardians. She has the strength to grip and hoist an automobile over her head. Jane as a Valkyrie can sprint and move at paces that exceed the normal physical limits of even the best human athlete. Jane has the capacity to see and sense things that normal human eyes cannot. As an example, consider opponents that deploy camouflage equipment or a concealing device. She also can see and communicate with the souls of the dead. Jane can detect and sense death's approach. She notices a death sign on other people, including Asgardians. Lady Punisher. Lynn Michaels, a detective who had partnered with Frank Castle to eradicate organized crime, took over the Punisher mantle for a while. One of their joint projects was tracking down a serial rapist, which gave her a thirst for the vigilante lifestyle. She was fed up with the department's incompetence and failure to apprehend a serial rapist. She attempted to apprehend him by masquerading as Bates. However, the Punisher intervened and the rapist fled in an unusual turn of events. Later, she joined forces with him to apprehend the rapists. She had some strong feelings for Frank at times, but after pursuing his war journal, she was disappointed and severely upset, and she subsequently burnt it because she wasn't addressed in it, and she chose to withdraw from his life. The police force's formalities occasionally came in the way of her receiving the justice she desired. Therefore, the nothing holding her back approach suited her. She turned into the Lady Punisher after believing Frank Castle martyred himself in order to blast a facility full of mobsters. She did have a good run in the 90s, knocking out all sorts of low-living criminal filth in a long leather jacket, as well as a skull-marked bustier, and finally went on to be a deep undercover agent for S.H.I.E.L.D. after an old colleague revealed her actual identity to the Mafia. She infiltrated Jigsaw's network and turned Ian, a guy who had lost his relatives in Stamford, into a killer. She also masked herself as a woman named Dia Monell, who provided medical help to the Punisher. When Frank was apprehended, she shot at Stuart Clark to prevent him from fleeing capture. Later, while Jigsaw, as well as the Punisher, were in the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D., she allowed Ian to shoot Jigsaw to compensate for brainwashing him. Her whereabouts are unknown, as she was last seen being detained for these activities. Lynn Michaels has a background in police enforcement. Lynn was well versed in police processes and practices. Rescue. While fans were reading and getting excited over Ironheart, the young genius with a crazy IQ who recently took over the Iron Suit, they may well have forgotten about Rescue, aka Pepper Potts. Following the World War Hate plotline, Tony Stark grew even more narcissistic and selfish than usual and resumed reckless drinking. Pepper Potts was dressed up as Rescue, wearing an outfit created particularly for her by Tony. Pepper Potts was Tony Stark's assistant for many years before he was Iron Man. While Tony was working as a superhero, she was elevated to CEO of Stark Industries. Following the decimation, the original Iron Man, Tony Stark, prepared her and made a specially designed suit for her in case he went missing again, giving her the nickname Rescue. The repulsor tech component placed in her chest enables her to engage with various forces and energies through a connection to her brain, thereby giving her a sixth sense. She has increased her metabolism, superhuman strength, response time, reflexes, and IQ as a result of it. She also possesses all of Iron Man's other suit strengths and none of Tony Stark's personal flaws, rendering her the superior wielder of the super suit.
She's got help.
Potts' armor, unlike Stark's, is not nanotech. It remains nonetheless incredibly sturdy and sophisticated. The suit, like Stark's armors, includes a heads-up display inside the helmet to enable Potts to analyze the environment. She can use the display to help her target. Potts' armor is highly robust, having withstood the mayhem of the Battle of Earth. The suit also boosts Potts' strength, allowing her to repel any of Thanos' thugs. Potts can fly thanks to her armor. The suit can expel floating iron guns comparable to the Mark L. However, they are far smaller and much more powerful. With a single explosion, they could quickly destroy a ship. The suit's hands can also shoot devastating lasers. The suit, like Tony's previous armors, can fire an incredible burst of energy from its chest. Pepper Potts is a formidable businesswoman with a commanding demeanor. Stark eventually handed her his family's business, which she expanded. Women's roles in comics were limited to spouses, lovers, damsels in distress, and sometimes the rare villain. While superheroes like the Phantom, Superman, and Batman were rescuing the world, all of their female equivalents were just being good citizens. It wasn't until the 1940s, when Wonder Woman as well as Black Canary burst out of panels, that the decision was taken to see if anybody would read a comic featuring a female superhero. The popular belief at the time was that most women were not powerful, strong, or capable of being superheroes in their own capacity. Even while there have been a few capable female heroes in the early decades, it wasn't until the explosive plot lines of the 70s and 80s that parallel versions of male heroes ensured that there'd be more female heroines everywhere.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. And have a good one. And be safe. Thanks, everyone.